Disclose, divest, we will not stop, we will not rest. Disclose, divest, we will not stop, we will not rest. Disclose, divest, we will not stop, we will not rest. Well, that's what we want to talk about tonight. And we first want to applaud FIT, who went back, won some new demands. Wouldn't have happened if you hadn't given it one more shot, and that is what's happening around the city, and it's happening around the world. There's a huge, huge undertaking, and I'm just going to touch on it tonight a little bit. But first, to salute Nakba Day. What's that mean, Nakba? The day of driving out of the Palestinians from Palestine, and it's really become a day of refusal to accept the driving out, a day to demand the right of return. That is what Nakba is today, 76 years later. Now, solidarity with the Palestinian resistance, it sparked a global upsurge. It's exploded into a challenge to corporate power, and no attempt to block it has succeeded. In this dying capitalist system, resistance means life itself is possible. Now, Nakba, driving out, is the way imperialists wage war on indigenous people around the world, not only in Palestine. But isn't this true across the U.S. against all the indigenous people? It was a systematic policy in Algeria, in South Africa, in what's today Zimbabwe, in Myanmar, in Asia, throughout Latin America and the Caribbean, and in Palestine. And it was considered acceptable colonial policy, absolutely ruthless. Now, in Astoria, Queens, yesterday, there was really a tremendous, tremendous Nakba demonstration. I think we should absolutely salute that combative attitude, that in the streets, in your face. And on Saturday, we're going to be in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, and also in Patterson and in other locations too, but I know there's quite a few people here that are going to make it their business to be in Bay Ridge. And it's because resistance changes everything. It's a refusal to accept the status quo. Now, the Palestinian resistance is the most unequal armed struggle imaginable. The most unequal. I mean, they have the biggest imperialist monolith monster behind them, and they have failed every step of the way. That is incredible, and it is changing world history. It's changing the direction. It's challenging Zionism, but it's also challenging U.S. imperialism's hold on the entire Western Asia. Now, here in Workers' World Party, we are Marxists, and we believe that change is based on real things that are happening underneath. That the unipolar, imperialist, dollar-dominated world is crumbling. The countries of the global south are refusing to submit to threats. They're finding alternatives, new trade, new financial mechanisms. The balance has shifted. U.S. stranglehold is slipping, and the old order is collapsing. That doesn't mean it's dead yet. It means it's more ruthless than it's ever been. The formerly colonized people are on the rise and with great creative energy and determination. Now, there are changes in production. Can't talk about that tonight. There are changes in social relations. There are changes in the class aspirations of the working class on a global scale. The old order of what was acceptable because there seemed no alternative has suddenly become intolerable. Now, change always breaks through in explosive, unexpected, unpredictable, dialectical ways. It's not a conspiracy of a few. But the ruling class in every single period always claims it's a conspiracy, an evil conspiracy, that they think they can root out with legislation, with declarations, with torture, with mass arrest, with massive brutal repression. That's how they see it. They can root this out, they could smash it, they could stop it. They think the established order is the only way things can be, and millions of people suddenly have another idea. That is the clash, and it's real, and it's going on a global scale. We're in a revolutionary upheaval on a global scale, and it's shaking every one of us in profound ways, and it's shaking the whole established order. And it's not a conspiracy, it's not outside agitators. Palestine is the spark. The incredible capacity and determination of a whole people that this is their moment and that they are the change. Now, the resistance in Palestine has captured the allegiance, the support, literally of hundreds of millions of people. The past 7 months have changed the consciousness of what's acceptable, of what's possible. It's led to also a creative explosion in thinking and even in technology. It's even given rise to new breakthroughs in weapons technology that can be built in tunnels and in caves from repurposed bombs that are dropped. New levels of sophistication and analysis. Isn't that what the Palestinians are warning in Rafah? They're saying, yeah, come on in. We got new weapons for you. Come on in. That is what's creating the pause. That is why they say, oh, we got to have some rest and we got to reconsider. That's why the U.S. is warning them, don't go in, because they take that seriously. There is new things being built, new technology. It doesn't mean that overwhelming force isn't still massively destructive, and everyone here has seen that again and again. Now, they're very different battlefields. Here in the U.S. and in Europe, we aren't in caves and tunnels. But every shutdown by government forces, every shutdown even of social media, has been met with new tactics. Isn't this right? I mean, I've seen whole sites be shut down, and by the next day, people have new ways of connecting and they know where to gather and where to go. How's that possible? That is a creative energy that we're seeing. Now, oh, I heard there's a problem here with sound.
It's a little hard to hear back this. I thought we could just use the small sound. No?
I don't know what to say.
Can folks hear me in the back? Am I loud enough? I feel like I'm
Maybe
shouting,
not.
but I might not.
Now you would. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Are people able to hear?
And by the way, if I'm not speaking loud enough, just wave your hands. Okay. Renee says, not loud enough. Okay. I'm just saying that even when they shut down the technology here, it's amazing how quickly folks regroup and they're on another platform and they've let each other know and they know how to even say what street corner they're on, right? That is the ability, the creative energy that's going on right now, and we should salute it. Now, I wrote this past week an article about Divest is a revolutionary demand, and I just want to break that down in my closing moment. It's not an artificial demand. It really flows from months of struggle and a developing understanding all across the country and around the world, but especially right here in the U.S., where the investments, the billions of dollars of investments from huge hedge funds are what are the big support behind Zionism. And the huge investments of the Pentagon into new, more and more weapons. So that demand to divest is really, it flows from an understanding that people have gained through the encampments, through the demonstrations, about what's going on behind the scenes. That wasn't known before. Maybe it was known by a few academics who were doing research, who were putting things with lots of footnotes and whatnot, but was it known by the average person? It's really deeply understood now who's responsible and just the enormous amounts of money that are flowing. So it's a demand, divest, that's deeply rooted, passionately felt, really understood. And it's a demand to break the entire imperialist web of support for the genocide in Gaza. The other part of that demand, disclose, is a demand to disclose these billions of investments. Disclose. Disclose and divest. To really look at it and understand it. It's a demand to know the whole sinister web of support for Zionism that's shoveled billions, trillions into weapons while there's hunger and disease and the planet is burning. And they're not looking at solutions for any of this. Their solutions are more repression, more weapons, more killing. And that is where there's a real break in consciousness that is happening. So, in conclusion, I'll say that resistance changes the equation of power. The direction of U.S. wars and U.S. funding of Israeli genocide in Gaza, and the defunding of UNRWA. What's it calculated to do? It's really set to obliterate all the limits on imperialist war. To say, oh, it's acceptable to create artificial famine and hyperinflation and withhold medicine and cut off electricity and fuel, all that's now acceptable. And there's a whole part of the world that is saying no, not acceptable for a minute. And the determination to throw in everything is what is growing and gaining momentum. So solidarity with the Palestinian resistance, it sparked a global upsurge. It's really exploded into a challenge to corporate power. There's no attempt to block it that has succeeded. And in a dying capitalist system, resistance means life itself. So, how are we going to end this? Disclose, divest. We will not stop. We will not rest. Disclose, divest. We will not stop. We will not rest.